Welcome to the first Cool Guy Camera Club bi-weekly meeting. This is something that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Like, the Cool Guy Camera Club was low-key just an idea that I had like probably about 6 or 7 months ago now, and to see that there's over 700 people in there now, it's just honestly beyond me. You know, one of my main missions is always to be able to impact people and be able to provide value to you guys. And I'm really excited to dive into this today. And share with you guys a little bit on my story. And like I kind of mentioned in that first post that I made a couple days ago, just a little bit about like what I've been up to the last couple months, because obviously the school community has been a little bit dry, been a little bit dark on social media. And I'm really excited to share my story with you guys as we go forward tonight. So who is this for? Obviously, everybody on here is part of the Cool Guy Camera Club. So we're all creatives in some sort of way. So whether you are a videographer, whether you are an editor, anybody who considers themselves a content creator, a videographer, an agency owner, or whether you just consider yourself a cool camera guy or cool camera girl, welcome in. I know we got a copywriter in here as well. I hope you're doing well. I see you in here. But I'm stoked for this, guys. So what is the actual mission of the Cool Guy Camera Club? Because we've had this community for a while. There really hasn't been much motion in it, but I really sat down the last month, 2 months, and like thought, okay, like what do I actually want to turn this into? And I have realized I want to go the complete opposite direction of any sort of info sling ever. So I'm not here to say that you are going to make 10K a month like all these internet gurus do. I'm not here to give you any shortcuts. I'm not here to tell you how to land more clients or go, make a bunch of money in your business. I'm not even here to tell you to say the things that I'm going to go over tonight are going to be easy, because instead my mission is to give you real skills that you can take and implement with yourself or your clients to get fantastic results and help you become actually great at marketing, no matter what asset you're in, whether you're a videographer, whether you're a copywriter, whether you're an editor. My goal is to help you become great, because I am genuinely like sick of seeing people in the online videography space and then all info spaces really coming on here and talking about how you can make 10K a month overnight on a Tuesday afternoon. And a lot of these people, like, sure, some of them do have great courses. Some of them do, genuinely share good information, but a lot of them preach an unrealistic dream that frankly, I'm just kind of sick and tired of hearing about. So my mission is to literally just eliminate the bullshit, especially in the videographer, the creative world, and give you guys genuine sauce and just share my story and show you guys what I've been doing to make that happen. And once again, like, I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm not here to tell you that everything that I go over tonight is going to be exactly what's going to happen to you, that it's, this super possible dream, because frankly, I have no fucking clue who most of you people are. And I love that there's a lot of people that I don't know on here, because that fires me up. But the least that I can share is what I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years of doing this. So you guys can take what you'd like from my story, from my journey, my wins, my failures, and begin your journey becoming great. Like the top 1%, the guy or the gal in the space that you choose. And no, I'm not here to sell you anything. In fact, I have freebies to give away. This is literally just Ryan Real Media speaking from the heart, providing you guys as much value and telling my story. So with that, if that fires you up, drop a 1 in the chat. I want to see you guys active in the chat tonight as we go out throughout this whole presentation. It could be anywhere from like, I love that Hutch, 6'7", that's hilarious. As we go out through this entire presentation, feel free to drop questions in the chat, and what we'll do at the end is I'll just go through and answer that stuff. We can open it for Q&A. I want this to be like an open discussion at the end, so you guys can get to meet each other a little bit as well. This isn't just going to be a one-way conversation. And yes, Hutch, this is going to be on the test, so y'all better pay attention. I love that. I love that. Appreciate you guys all for jumping on. This is awesome. So why would I gather everybody, all 17 of you here, if I'm not trying to sell you anything? And selfishly, it's because I want to be able to build a talent pool of like-minded people to eventually bring onto my team as I grow. I might not be looking to hire in the next 1 to 3 months, but who knows, in a year from now, if things continue on the trajectory that they are, and I continue to reach towards those goals, then obviously I'm going to need A players on my team. And if I can show up here every other week, give you guys some sauce, and you guys can come to me, ask questions, if you guys are involved in this stuff, who do you think I would be obviously going to hire first? Probably the people that are on my bi-weekly calls where I'm just talking shop and spitting game as to whatever I'm doing. So that's really the main reason that I wanted to gather everybody here together. And that's the main purpose of the Cool Guy Camera Club, because whether, in the future, some of you guys may do some work for me, or whether you don't, the least you could do is show up, get some sauce, and maybe take bits and pieces and apply it to whatever you're trying to accomplish inside of your own business, right? So before we dive into what I've been up to the last few months, I need to give you all some context if you guys are not familiar with my full backstory, so you can kind of get caught up to speed here. So for those of you that don't know, in high school, I was a massive baseball guy. These are all tweets from different showcases, tournaments that I went to. I literally lived and breathed the game of baseball. It was frankly the only thing that truly mattered in my life, and the only thing that I found like genuine passion in. And I was pretty damn good at it too. Not to flex or anything. I was a D2 arm, but I was pretty good. And all that kind of came to a screaming halt my senior year of high school. I ended up having Tommy John surgery, which if you guys are familiar with that, tore a ligament in my elbow, couldn't pitch anymore. So I was like, well, damn, that kind of sucks. At the time, I was already committed to play Division II college baseball. So I still had that opportunity lined up. But that surgery is where cameraman Ryan was born. And if you guys have been following me for a long time, you're going to be pretty familiar with the story that I'm about to share and the different phases that I went through. But that surgery really allowed me to fully embrace the creative process in my own life, because up until that point, I was always on the field playing, but I was always the kid that wanted photos. I was always the kid that wanted videos done for me. And I was pretty good at it. Took some classes on in high school, had a camera myself, but never really had a true time to do it. So when I had that surgery, cameraman Ryan was born, which takes us into phase number 1. And this is like the OG phase, guys, like the OG phase. I'm talking senior in high school, going to freshman year of college. And at the time, I called my business On Base Edits. And during this time, like, I was just like a regular ass dude, like the most regular kid out there. I love sports and I like to take photos. That was about it. So I started going around to all these local tournaments, local events, and just hustling all these kids that I knew in the baseball space for different photos and videos. And I was making decent cash doing it, but I literally refused to get like a regular paying job. Like, if you would talk to my parents, like the amount of times my dad would just bitch at me because I didn't like have like a job in high school was actually obnoxious. So this finally gave me a chance to not only have a quote unquote job, but also do something that I love, because I was always against like getting into a job that I just absolutely hated. But during this phase of my life, right, like I said, I was hustling. I was also a regular college kid. Here's me with a Twisted Tea box on my head, just being a goober, college baseball player, and then obviously filming with some people that I was close with around the state. So this is what I would consider like the hustler phase, right? And I believe that this is a really important phase. I had no conception of what like business was. I had no idea like what was possible or how to actually go about it. I was just doing something I love and making some money with it. And like I said, just a regular ass dude that refused to get a normal job, went to local games, and eventually moved up to college and began my college baseball career. So this brings us then to phase number 2, which is college. Very interesting time for everybody. But when I was in college, I had 2 separate characters that were very, very different from each other. So I had college Ryan, and then I had business Ryan. Now, college Ryan over here on the left was just like any other college dude, right? This is my fake ID photo that I took in our staircase in our dorms. This is what we call the case race. We all would get up once every October and go drink a bunch of beer on Saturday morning. Like, I was having a good time playing college baseball with my boys. But then like every so often, usually on the weekends or like once a month or so, I was business Ryan. I was traveling the country. I was going to film big baseball events. I was shooting for my college as well. And I was literally living like these 2 very different lives all at the same time, which is super interesting because that led to a lot of conflict within me, right? Because I was trying to train. I was trying to stay on top of rehab from the surgery that I had. I was trying to give my best energy to the team. I was trying to live like the college life, my best college life. And I was trying to be my best on the field while also succeeding academically. And at the same time, I was also traveling the country for work, filming content for my personal page, trying to sign more clients, even though I really had no idea what I was doing, make more money, and travel even more. All this going on at the same time. And to be honest, it just simply didn't work like at all. I ended up consistently, like very consistently being injured, consistently being mid when I played. Like in college, I was just god awful, completely different player compared to when I was in high school. And ultimately, I just ended up losing the mental battle of baseball because I was so checked out. I'd put so much pressure on myself to succeed on the field like my entire life, and then to deal with so much failure, so much injury. I ultimately just kind of let my own brain get in the way, and that showed tremendously on the field. And every single time that I dealt with that stuff, I just continuously turned to the creative side. I was like, okay, well, what other events can I go film? Like, I genuinely want nothing to do with this. How can I go travel on the weekend so I can just escape practice? How can I just get out of this environment? And if you ask my mom, I called her so many times and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, my arm hurts. I want nothing to do with school. Like, I just want to go all in on this creative thing. I really don't know what I'm doing fully, but I feel like I can make it work. Like, I really want to see where it goes. And that ultimately all led to resentment towards the game that I grew up loving, which is baseball. So I had a very difficult choice to make. So I could either stay in college and play baseball, chill on the business side of things, take path A, we can call it that, right? Path that everybody else takes. Or I could choose to leave school and chase this newfound dream that I had. And now this photo over here on the left says, to future me. It was taken on January 8th, 2024. Little note to myself and my good old Snapchat memories. Your shoulder aches. You want nothing to do with school. You have big goals for 2024, and you don't know what to do about your school or shoulder. And I was just praying that I could find the right path for me. And at this time, I still didn't really have a recollection of what was actually possible if I went all in on it. I had seen I get to travel every once in a while. I get to hold this camera, take cool photos, make people happy through that. But I didn't fully understand what was truly possible. So that leads me to phase 3. And if you guys have been following me for a while, you'll know that I dropped out of college after my sophomore year with really no plan. I had a couple months worth of gigs lined up. And I was like, you know what, fuck this. We're just going to go all in and we're going to figure it out. And it's kind of a funny story how this actually went down too, because I remember one day my mom came up to me and for more context, I actually entered the transfer portal after my sophomore year because I just thought I wanted to find a new place to play. And she's like, I hope you didn't enter the transfer portal just so you could drop out of college. And in that moment, it literally clicked in my brain. I was like, why would I not just leave school and do the thing that I've wanted to do, compared to letting other people kind of dictate my path, and compared to trying to go find it and restart at a whole new school when I wasn't even truly passionate about the game of baseball anymore. And it was just genuinely pissing me off. So that's exactly what I did, decided to drop out. And now for the last 2 years, I've been blessed enough to be able to travel all around the world at this point, just because I hold a camera. I can't even put into words the experiences that I've had, the people that I've met, the places that I've been, simply because I made that one choice on probably a Wednesday afternoon to not go back to college. So you can see here, flying in a helicopter somehow because I hold a camera, film for one of my clients. Me in the Stanley Cup, film for the Savannah Bananas. Here's me and my boy Hutch after we won a Pottstown tournament with Pottstown fellas. I ended up in Paris for a shoot at one point. This is one of many, many, many college visits that I've been on for different shoots. Eric Sim, if you guys are familiar with the baseball world. And then to be able to see some of my photos up in major sporting goods stores like Dick's right here is pretty damn cool as well. And then this was my flighty from last year as well, upwards of almost 90 flights in 365 days, which is just absolutely absurd. To go from this guy, right, sitting on my couch, genuinely contemplating, what am I going to do with my life? What is the next step for me? To seeing all this stuff go down simply because I made one choice and bet on myself. That's pretty damn cool. And not only was I successful in terms of traveling, but I also had quote unquote material success. And I don't share this to flex in any sort of way. You'll see how this plays out in a little bit here. But I was able to go get a cool watch. I took my buddy Brady down to Miami. We went jet skiing and spent 3 days in Miami. I paid for the whole thing for him. It was fucking awesome. And then I moved out of my parents' house and then ultimately moved to Scottsdale, Arizona just a couple months ago as well. I'm literally living what you would consider the dream life in this part of my life. But like I said, traveling, making all this money. I could go to Chipotle every single day and get double chicken without thinking twice. I was on top of the world in my brain, right? Last year we did 200K in revenue, 45K in a single month. Not saying this again to flex, because when that did happen, I ended up getting extremely, extremely comfortable. I vividly remember last July, I worked for maybe 15 days total when we hit that 45K month. And I felt like I'd made it. I was sitting on my couch in my nice little studio apartment back in Milwaukee. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is what life is all about right here. Maybe this is what it feels like to make it. Wow. But even then, it still kind of felt a little empty. I found it interesting because I got to do all the cool stuff. I got the cool things that I wanted, but yet still I got comfortable and felt just a little bit lost. And I learned the hard way that I had not actually made it at all, actually. Fall of 2025, made some pretty poor business decisions and people that I was surrounding myself with, and the just overall decisions within the whole operation. I ended up making less than 5K a month pretty much all fall. And I felt like the entire thing that I had built literally just like fell off of a cliff. Like it all fell apart completely. It was almost like an identity crisis in the sense of like, I didn't even know what I was doing anymore. Didn't know who I really helped. Didn't really feel any confidence in myself. And at this point is when I moved across the country in September and moved to Scottsdale. And what I learned during those few months was extremely powerful, because it showed me that I was not as good as I once thought I was. Like I said, I felt like I had made it for a little bit, but in reality, I was not that good. I was a damn good videographer, but I wasn't really that great at getting like real client results besides views. And that didn't sit well with me, because what I've learned is that in order for me to feel fulfilled in what I do, I need to make like a real impact, whether that's specifically on my client or on my client's clients who are bringing in through content. Like I need to make a real impact, and getting views and stuff and running big shoots was cool, but it didn't sit well with me. So I felt like I didn't have any like real value to provide, almost like I was kind of just a commodity in a sense, because there's literally millions of videographers out there that can all do what I did, if not even better. And the only thing that I felt really set me apart was that I was like the cool camera guy, in the sense I'm really good at talking to people, I'm really good at making connections fast, the whole 9 yards there, but anybody could go and do a lot of the things that I was doing, right? So I felt like I needed to level up my player card in order to kind of get my swagger back, in order to get my momentum back internally. And that leads us into phase number 4, which is the comeback. So a mentor of mine asked me, this was probably about 2 months ago. He's like, well, dude, like, what do you actually enjoy about what you do? Because I had told him the situation, and I'm like, dude, I just kind of feel lost. Like, I'm not really sure where we're going with this thing. Like, I don't really know what to do. And when he asked me that, like, I genuinely didn't have a clear answer. I was kind of stumbling over my words. I'm like, oh, well, I like, filming, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, like, you need to get really clear on that. And I'd realized that I'd never really thought about that, because the only thing that I was really thinking about was, oh, well, how much money am I going to make next month? How many shoots do I have lined up? Blah, blah, blah. But I never really thought about what actually do I enjoy about this whole entrepreneurial journey, right? And what that kind of led me to was a rabbit hole on dedicating a lot of time to deciding who I want to be in 10 years. Who is Ryan Rail in 10 years when I'm 31, right? Well, someday I'm going to want to be a dad. I'm going to want to start a family. I want to be a provider for the people that are around me in my life, whether that's my future wife and kids, whether that's my parents, whether that's anybody in my immediate family. And I want to be somebody that others can count on. And I never really realized that that's truly what I wanted until I sat down and literally spent like probably over a week just thinking about this stuff and really thinking back on what's made me the most fulfilled in the past. And when I sat down and thought about all that, I came up with what I call the provider profit arc. Now, I have like a full Google Doc where this is all laid out. It's multiple pages long, but essentially what it is, it's a plan to build my life to make it fulfilling and free through becoming the very best version of myself. And it's essentially a game plan to level up my player card and become so valuable that clients will never leave because we are so good and are so crucial to their success. It is a plan to level up my player card so I can provide for my future family and to build something real that sticks and leaves an impact on the world, because that is what truly is fulfilling to me, being able to provide a real impact on the people that are around me. And inside of those few weeks, I began to kind of develop like a true game plan as to who I needed to become in order for that to be true. Ryan Rail right now is 21. Okay, this is like what he has on his player card. I think about it like a MLB The Show card. Okay, here are my statistics. What do I need to become in order to be that man at 31 that I want to be? And I learned that if I want to make a real impact, level up my player card and become the best version of myself, I needed to master the following things here. So number 1 is going to be content. Obviously, we all make content here. So what does that actually mean? So one thing that I was doing the first couple of years, right, it's just making cool videos. I was just a videographer at heart. That was really all I was really good at. But I realized that it can't just be a videographer vibe anymore. I had to level that up in the sense of getting videos that not only get a lot of views for the clients, but also push people to take action, learn how to speak to a specific person through that content, and then ultimately help drive revenue through that content as well to actually make a true impact compared to just getting clout. Now, the second aspect of that is learning the ins and outs of paid ads. And to be straight with you guys here, like very fresh to the paid ad side of things still. I'm literally just a couple months into it. So I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert on this, but this is just something that I know I need to get really good at. So understanding that I need to be able to create very trackable paid ads that, once again, push people to take action, speak to a specific person and drive revenue, but also learn all the strategies and tactics behind it so we can implement it in any given situation at any given time for any specific client that comes to us with that need, right? Now, number 3 sounds super boring, but I can assure you it's one of the highest leverage things that is going to impact my career long-term. So that's going to be funnels and back-end systems. So being creatives, right? We're all really good at gathering attention. We're all really good at kind of capturing people. And maybe you already do have experience in like pushing them to go do something, but what happens after that, right? How do we have the most control over that process? Well, we need to take those new eyeballs and actually learn how to convert them into dollar signs. And in doing so, it actually allows us to have much higher leverage with the clients that we're working with, because now if we own the funnel and the system that runs the entire marketing plan, it allows us to literally own the process, meaning it's sticky. So if a client were to try and leave, even if we're getting them great results, it would be extremely difficult because we own that entire process. And we can dive into that in a little bit as well. And it just allows us to have more control while driving more results directly into a business by creating an entire marketing ecosystem rather than being just a videographer, right? Because a videographer is easily replaceable. All right, you're sick. All right, we'll just bring in somebody else to come film. All of a sudden, that person's way better. Okay, well, we're not going to bring that other guy back because this person's better. But if you learn how to make an entire ecosystem where everything is working together in conjunction, then that's where you become truly, truly valuable. Now, before number 4 and 5, I would also like to mention that everybody in this call is very likely to be a very creative person, right? If you're the videographer, if you're the editor, if you're the copywriter, you all have some sort of creative superpower in your brain that has done something good for you. So going back to these right here, number 1, 2, and 3, think about it as using your creativity in new, different ways that are fresh, right? Because once you understand the basics of 1, 2, and 3, then your creativity literally becomes your superpower, because there's not many people out there that can think like us. There's not many people that can sit down on the spot and come up with all these fresh, creative, new ideas to push people to do certain things or create this fire content, right? That's going to push somebody somewhere. That is our superpower. So although some of it kind of sounds a little bit dry, think about it as just new ways to be creative as we go through this. Now, number 4 is also extremely important and has already made a massive impact on my life. And it's to take complete ownership over my own life. Because if I want to become Ryan at 31, that's providing for his family, that's a great dad, a great husband, all those things, I need to take ownership over my life now. So by the time that I get there, my shit is put together, right? And I think we could all agree on that. But it's been a massive mindset shift for me, because I would say even just a year ago, I was kind of like a complainer. I won't lie. It's like, oh, well, this thing didn't go well for me, but it's probably not my fault. Like this thing went wrong and that thing went wrong, but like, I did my part, right? But I think that's a terrible outlook on life, especially being marketers, being creative people, because if we can take full responsibility over the wins, the losses, the highs, the lows, and control everything that is in our control and take full responsibility over that, then you have full power to run through the brick wall, as I'll mention here in a little bit as well, and solve any problems that come your way. And you'll be able to go way further, way faster when you can just accept that not everything is going to go your way all the time. But if you take responsibility for it and actually push through that, you're going to be much better off on the other end. And then number 5 here is going to be document what I do. So not always on social media. As you guys have seen the last couple of months, I'm honestly like barely on social media. I think promoting this call was really the only thing I've done on social media the last probably month and a half almost, it feels like, but more so internally. So building different SOPs, trainings, and just brain dumping whatever it is that I'm working on. So that way, when something does start working, right, I can replicate that process over and over and over again. And in doing so, it will give me much more leverage for going back to what I said at the beginning of the call. Somebody like yourself who's watching this video right now, who's watching this training right now, you can just jump in and follow the trainings that we've already gone through, the SOPs that I've already built, and the ship can continue to sail faster. So documenting internally has been a big thing as well. And when I realized all that, I understood that I needed to get my hands dirty to actually figure this shit out, because now I had a clear vision and plan as to who I want to become and what I actually need to do in order to get there, what skills I need to master. And I had kind of done it in the past, but to be honest, I half-assed it a lot. Like when I first started my business working with just local people, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just happy that I was getting paid. I'm sure we can all agree to that, and that's okay. Like everybody has to go through that stage at some point in time. But I mean, I like looking back from even just a year ago to now, like I was ass a year ago. And why might that be? Well, it's because I was brainwashed by all these internet gurus that making money should be easy and effortless, and that I didn't actually need to be that good. And I can wake up on a Wednesday morning, be 20 years old, and I should be able to make 10K a month, no problem, right? I could just use ChatGPT to win the game. But I'm like, dude, that's just, I just genuinely do not agree with that after what I've been through the last year. And if you haven't realized yet, life is not going to work that way. You can't go to Chipotle twice a day and get double chicken by using GPT to cheat your way through. You got to actually get good at this shit. And this is like the most cliche quote I could have probably put in this entire presentation, but hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard, because we're all naturally gifted creatively, right? We're all good at whatever it is that you pursue. But if you don't consistently try and get 1% better every single day, somebody else on this call is going to do that. And somebody else on this call is going to beat you out. So you need to understand that every single day, you have to put your nose on the grindstone and get even just 1% better at whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. And when you fully embrace that, things start to get a lot more fun. So like I said, I needed to get my hands dirty. Welcome to free work, which we all hate hearing. But if I look back over the last 4 years, free work has been the most impactful thing that I have done for my career. So that's exactly what I decided to go back to doing. It was the end of September at this point, and I was in a pretty low spot. Like it was 2 months after that big record month that I had. My whole business basically fell apart. Felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I had a lot of my clients churn, and I needed my hands on something because I felt like I was just a floating rock in space at this point, and I was just going crazy. So I did what any logical person would do. I paid somebody a bunch of money to tell me what to do, which was genuinely probably one of the scariest things I've done, because at the time, like, I didn't have 10 bands to just blow like it was nothing. It was a lot of money for me at the time, and I was kind of taking a bet on myself. But looking back, it was one of the best decisions that I had made. So if you guys aren't familiar with my mentors, it's Cam and Presley. They run Leverage Creator. If you guys are familiar with that, highly recommend if you guys are looking to pay somebody for like one-on-one mentorship or things like that as you guys advance. Not affiliated with them in any way, but just they have genuinely helped me out a ton here. So what they told me to do is find an info offer that I was confident in, that was in the early stages, and essentially like work for free, running their entire marketing department. But like I kind of mentioned earlier, I don't really mess with a lot of info people or like the quote unquote gurus of the world, but I do mess with sports. I love sports. And we happen to know the perfect fit for this plan that they kind of drew up for us. Introducing Athletes University. You guys have probably seen it posted on my Instagram account a couple times over the last few months here. But just to give you some context on who AU is, it's a football recruiting offer for high school recruits and their families. And Will, the owner, essentially just helps them earn scholarships through sending emails, helping them out with Twitter, things like that. If you guys are familiar with NCSA, it's a much better and more personal version of that. So looking at this, I was already friends with Will, and it was something that I believed in because I was once a recruit myself in the baseball space, obviously. It fit the info tab, but it was also in sports, and it was already somebody that I had knew and somebody that I had aligned with. So we went over to Will, and we signed him on as a free client, offering to only take money from him after we broke his current record month, which at the time of signing him on, which was like sometime at the end of September, maybe early October, was 16K. And around that point in time, he was doing like 6 to 7K a month. He was in college, still playing college football, so he was quite busy. But I want you guys to imagine like me pulling up to this call, and at the time I was working with my roommate as well, who's in sales, and were like, yo, like, we're just going to do this for free and we won't take anything from you until we pass your record month. And I'm like, bro, like in the past, I barely have gotten anybody actual tangible results. And I'm just going to put my nuts on the chopping board. Like in my head, I was going crazy because I'm like, I genuinely have no idea if this is going to work out, but I needed something to do. I needed something to put that plan into action with. But what that did do is when he agreed to that, it instilled into me that I had to become great at what I do. And I had to figure that shit out fast because I could not just keep bleeding cash every single month, or else I obviously wasn't going to get paid at all. And I was still paying editors to work for me. I didn't really have much confidence that I was going to get great results because frankly, I never had in the past. But my motto is, and always has been, and people that are around me know this, is that I'm always going to figure this shit out. One way or another, I'm going to make it work and I'm going to figure it out no matter what comes my way and no matter what happens. So that's exactly what we started to do. And flash forward about 4 months, eventually upsold him into a base retainer plus 15% of all revenue. So far, up until this point, we've cash collected almost $80,000. And the total deal value, once payment plans are all said and done, is upwards of almost $150,000. And we're getting paid a percentage on that. And you can see here, October, didn't do anything. November, 9,000, December 17. And then just this month, we hit $50,000 cash collected, meaning last month I got paid out about $8K just from this client alone, not even the 10K dream that all the gurus sell you online. But what I will say about this is I've never felt more fulfilled in my career. Notice I did not even make 10K last month. I did not ride in the PJ. I did not travel the world. I did not go do all these cool things, but I was able to put my nuts on the chopping board and prove to myself that even in hard times, I will find a way to make the shit work for myself. I was able to become good at something fast because I dedicated time to learning it. And I was forced to dedicate time to learning it. And I'm not going to claim that I got great at it fast because frankly, I know that there's way more to go in this. Like I have way more to learn. I can get way better. And I feel like I've only unlocked like 5% of my total potential as a marketer because like we've been doing this for like 4 months. Like in the grand scheme of life, in the grand scheme of that 10-year vision, that's literally nothing. So what did I do different since I wasn't just a videographer anymore? I'll break it down for you guys at 1,000 feet. So number one, the first step is I had to understand the people that he sold to a T. And everyone kind of talks about this in the videography space, but I feel like not many people actually take it super seriously because this is like the most important aspect. Because without number one, the rest of the system breaks. But I understood that I wasn't here to make cool videos anymore. I wasn't just here to drive a bunch of views. I had to literally like make these people feel something and actually act on it in order for them to then give us money. Very different ball game than just saying, oh, like I'm going to make you a bunch of cool videos that hopefully get a bunch of views and like do with that what you want. Like, no, I had to literally push these people to do something through the content that I was making. So tactically, what does that actually look like? Number one is research. And let me break that down even further because a lot of people don't fully understand this. So research is literally me putting myself into the avatar shoes. If you guys aren't familiar with the term avatar, essentially is just the specific person that they are trying to sell to. So in Will's case, high school football player or high school football parent, I literally lived their life, meaning I'm online, like in the depths of Reddit, like figuring out, okay, what are these people searching up? What content are these people consuming already that's doing well? What are these people's buying motives? What problems do they have? What do they desire? What are their goals? What things might these parents and athletes fear about their career? And what we do with all of that is compile it into a full document. So this is just like one page. I believe this document for Will is like probably 5 or 6 pages long at least. It could even be probably double that if we had all of it saved in there. But we compile all that into a document. And then I also compile all of the content that I'm watching. When I say I put myself into their shoes, putting that all into a Slack channel for me to then reference when we get into step number 2 here. So step number 2, I then had to go in and write organic content in an entirely new way than I had in the past. Typically, like when I'm working with the different sports brands or just like personal brands, I honestly had really no clue what I was doing when it came to like scripting out content. I'm like, oh, this would probably sound cool, or like this would work well. But once again, I had to figure out how to make these people feel something, not just be entertained or just share a cool video. I had to literally make them like feel emotion through what we were speaking to them. And I had to do it a lot too. We promised them 30 videos a month from the get-go. Keep in mind that was when we were working for free as well. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get probably pretty good at this pretty fast if I have to do this 30 times every single month and work ahead. So tactically, what did that look like for me in order to learn that? The classic, YouTube University. It's where all great ideas are born and where everybody goes to learn. Probably more valuable than my college education ever was. Number 2, working alongside Will. Will had already posted a lot of content. He already had somewhat of an idea of what was working. I went in there, collaborated with him, had him teach me a little bit of his ways and what was working, and then I just was able to amplify that. And then mixing that in with AI as well. I don't want to say that I use AI to script out entire videos because frankly, I haven't found a way to do that that actually performs well yet. But I do use AI a lot to generate new content ideas, maybe give us base scripts to work around, and just allows us to brain dump a lot of ideas into, right? So I had to literally relearn how to actually do this, because I should actually rephrase that, not even relearn, just like actually learn and spend time on it. Because if you guys are anything like me, and this is totally okay if you're this way, but when you come to like a roadblock like scripting, maybe it's not necessarily the most fun thing to do for you, and maybe it kind of scares you a little bit. Maybe it feels a little bit difficult at first, but that doesn't serve you in any way if you're just going to try and go around the roadblock. If you just go this way, go that way, maybe try and climb the wall, you have to like go through the wall and actually spend the time to learn it. And over the last 3 or 4 months, I have put myself into the quote unquote trenches to learn about that. And then with that, it just comes reps, more reps, more reps. And now up until this point, we've produced about 125 videos, which again, in the grand scheme of that 10-year plan is not that many. But through that, we've been able to generate well over 1,500 leads, millions of views, and obviously a whole lot of cash collected compared to what he was doing in the past. All right, number 3, managing my editing team, maintaining quality and consistency. Up until this point, like when I was traveling, working with different brands, even some of the personal brand clients that I had, I didn't really have to have a big editing team. I didn't really have to manage their quality that much. I had a couple big shoots where I had some team members help me out and stuff, but most of the time they were based in the States, and I could just give them the work and they'd run with it and it would be good. But when I'm fighting for literally every single dollar at this stage, right, it is 100% up to me, once again, going back to taking responsibility for my actions to make sure that I maintain quality and consistency throughout. And I literally acted like my life depended on this stuff in order to make this boat continue to run effectively when it comes to costs, and then also just literally keeping the boat running at all times. So tactically, what does that look like? So I ended up building an entire system to manage my mini team of editors. They're all based over in the Philippines. They're actually all family members, which is phenomenal. I love them. I began to build editing SOPs. If you guys aren't familiar with the term SOP, it's standard operating procedures. Essentially, you can just think about it like a instruction manual. Built those so the revision process starts to go a little bit smoother, and they can start editing stuff on their own rather than me kind of breathing down their neck all the time, making sure it's right. And I also began to take my overseas editing team extremely seriously and like truly make them a part of my mission and not just use them for their talent. Because I feel like a lot of people will go and hire like a Filipino editor, and it's like, oh, you know, I got this guy for $10 that edits my videos. But you have to remember, like, that's a real human being on the other end, whether he speaks English or not. Like, that guy is part of your team, and without that dude, if he sucks, like your operation doesn't run. So essentially, these people could be considered some of the most important aspects of the entire process. So what I do is I get on twice a week with them. I have 4 of them all over there, and we just talk shop for like 30 minutes to an hour twice a week. And most of the time, we're not even talking about editing. But what that does is it builds true team camaraderie and true culture amongst them, to the point where I feel like I'm genuinely friends with them. What does that do in return? Well, okay, obviously now that they're close with me, they're going to provide better work for me. They're going to be more consistent. When I give them feedback, they will take it more seriously because we spend genuine, true time together. And alongside that, I also began to manage my time much more efficiently to ensure that I can complete everything on time and to the best of my ability, right? Because something that I personally struggled with, and I'm not afraid to share like my struggles as we go along here, like my time management used to suck. I would wake up in the morning, I like draw my to-do list, and I'm like, all right, like let's do it. Like didn't really time block anything, and I just kind of felt like I was so scattered, like doing so many different things all at once. And I still struggle with this sometimes, to be straight with you. But what I've started to do is literally block off like hour-and-a-half blocks. It's like, okay, in this hour-and-a-half block, I am specifically dedicating it to making sure that my editors are set up for success, whether that's building SOPs, whether that's getting on calls with them, whether that is showing them what to do, things along those lines, managing my time so they are set up for success and the boat keeps moving. Here's some screenshots of the system that I've built out. On a future call, I can kind of dive into it a little bit more if you guys want to see like the actual tactics behind it. Happy to do that. But essentially, we run it through Airtable. So this is just a content calendar where the whole team can kind of see what's going down. Down here in the bottom left is the tasks list. So I'm able to just fill out a form. My editors will see that task pop up. They get a notification in Slack. They have all the information that they're going to need in order to complete that. And then Frame over here on the right, you can kind of think about it like Google Drive for videographers. So this is where we just keep all of our footage organized in folders and whatnot. So I can go in and then leave revisions and things along those lines. Now, number 3, it's a little less of a quote unquote tactical principle when it comes to business, but more of a mindset, right? Genuinely caring about Will's success more than my own. That has been my entire motto the last couple months, because the gurus of the world, I feel like a lot of them spit onto all of us. That's like, how can you make more money? How can you make 10K a month? How can you blow up your business? But nobody actually tells you, like, what about the clients you're serving? Like, in order to blow up your business, obviously you have to be actually good at what you do and actually care about your client's success, or else you're gonna make a lot of money and then it's gonna go poof, kind of like it did with me. Because you won't have the foundation set up to actually provide true value to your clients. So I like to think in terms of like, how can I make my clients win 10 times over again before I ever care or need to actually make money off of them? And if you operate out of that mindset and you can truly accept the fact that, like, all right, I might not necessarily see, a quick dopamine hit, a quick check come through this month, but if I stick to this process for 2 months, 3 months, okay, maybe then I'll have a chance to like actually build something real with this specific client. And I feel like so many people in today's day and age just kind of skip over that. And they're like, oh, I just want to make a quick buck here, quick buck there. And I was operating out of that mindset last summer and it bit me in the butt. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like that's been a very impactful mindset shift for me. So tactically, what does that look like? It's collaborating with Will extremely frequently. He's literally my neighbor at this point, so I bounce over there literally every single day. And before he moved in, we're on Google Meets almost every single day, ensuring that everything is running smoothly. Keeping him updated on everything, over communicating. I always preach that, making sure that your clients are updated on anything and everything that they could possibly need to know about what you're doing. Taking personal constructive criticism on what isn't working and why. So when I wrote that out, I think about it in terms of like me criticizing myself over, okay, this thing broke, instead of making excuses and like, oh, why didn't this, this ad perform well? Why didn't this piece of content perform well? Okay. Well, it's probably my fault because I'm the one that made it. So let's figure out like what was wrong with it and find the solution to it instead of being a little baby, and actually go through the brick wall. Like I said, you have to list it out, face the brick walls head on and run through them, because things are never going to go easy and smooth. If you sign up for the game of entrepreneurship, I feel like Alex Hormozy when I say that, but if you sign up for the game of entrepreneurship, shit's going to be hard, especially in the early stages. Most of us on here are probably pretty young. We're all probably trying to figure our shit out. You got to understand that it's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy, or else everybody would do it. Fourth thing that we did with him was launch ads. Like I mentioned earlier, this is relatively new, so I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert in this. I'm just here to share what I've learned so far about ads. And who knows, maybe somebody in here might even know more about ads than I do. We'll find out. But tactically, what does that look like on my end? So I invested into Jeremy Haynes' course. If you guys aren't familiar with him, highly, highly, highly recommend checking out his YouTube videos. I would consider him a goated marketer. He talks a lot about hitting $1 million months, and he works with some pretty high-level guys. Super valuable YouTube videos, super valuable course. But I also like to surround myself with people who are better than me and spending way more on me than ads. One of my mentors spends like 40 grand a month on ads. Cam and Prez, just this week, they launched a webinar for a client. They're spending 30 grand a day on ads. So I'm like, all right, if I spend time around them and I learn from them as to what they're doing and what's seeing success on their end, obviously I'll be able to pull that stuff and apply it to my own. So the people you surround yourself with are important on things that are fresh and new to you. And then just getting in the weeds and playing around in Ads Manager and learning a ton of different ad strategies, creative testing, etc. So the actual strategy that we're following right now is we're running paid advertisements to people who have specifically seen our organic content in the past. Will has a really great personal brand, like 30-some thousand followers right now. So every time that somebody watches an organic piece of content, it's what we would call warming them up, right? Somebody that might not know, like, and trust us yet, they see a piece of our content, they're like, all right, cool, like I found some value from this, whatever. And then ads will get sent their way too, because now they've interacted with our page. Those ads, once again, warm them up even more, and they're a little bit more direct, pushing them to actually send us a DM, which would then be considered a lead, which then from there, the sales team can take over and ultimately push them on a sales call and take their money, which is the end game of this operation. Now, number 5 kind of goes back to more of like a mindset shift, right? And it's acting in the way my future self would. Because to become the very best version of myself, the simplest way to do that is to take the actions that Ryan in 10 years would tell me to do. What would 31-year-old Ryan tell 21-year-old Ryan to do today in order to become the man that he is? Think in that mindset. And from there, you'll find a lot of clarity and a lot of answers in what you should do on your day-to-day. So tactically, it comes down to having a very clear vision for your future. For me, it's the provider profit arc that I mentioned earlier. Making logical decisions then based on who I want to be, and then acting in accordance to those decisions that I've made, and becoming 1% better every single day that I wake up. And I'm going to leave you guys with this tonight, and we'll open it up for Q&A, and we can talk shop a little bit. So a client of mine, Brandon Geyer, just signed him on the last couple weeks here. He preaches Arete plus Kaizen. If you guys aren't familiar with it, I believe they're both Japanese terms. But Arete means excellence, and Kaizen means continuous improvement. And when he brought this up to me originally, I found it super powerful because it felt super relatable to like what I'm trying to do. Because in the past, right, I was always focused on like, oh, well, you know, what can I do to make more money this month? What can I do to benefit me? You know, it's all about where am I going to get to travel? What am I going to get to do? Blah, blah, blah. But at what point have I ever stepped back and like, okay, what can I actually do to just make myself better so those things naturally happen? Rather than chasing those external things, how can I just chase the best internal version of myself? He kind of phrases it in the sense of playing tag with the next best version of you. How can you wake up every day and play tag with that guy, chase that guy internally? Who gives a shit what other people say? Who gives a shit what actually happens on the external? If you can go to bed, putting your head on the pillow, knowing that you chased that next best version of you, got 1% better today, that will make a tremendous impact on what you guys are trying to pursue. So like I just mentioned, become great at what you do, put others before yourself, live in accordance to your future self, and follow Arete plus Kaizen, and ultimately you guys will find success. So that's all I got for you guys tonight. I'd love to open this up for Q&A.